Thank you.
Not that that's good all the time.
Shri Jayadev Gala. I request very brief because the Prime Minister is going to reply 4 o'clock. There are many members. I am having the list. Therefore, I request everyone to be very brief. 5 minutes maximum you can take.
Thank you, sir. This is also my maiden address. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. On behalf of the Telugudesam Party and our leader, Sri Nara Chandrababu Naidu Garu, I'd like to thank the President for his very inspirational, progressive, forward-looking address, very exciting address. Good to be part of Bharat Desam at this moment. Sir, in Guntur district, from where I hail, from where I represent, there was 84% polling in the recent election. My constituency is 50% urban and 50% rural. In the urban areas, it ranged between 65 to 70%, almost a 10% increase over the last election. And in the rural areas, it exceeded 85%. People have voted for development and growth, for improving the basic needs through efficient administration. They're all looking forward to improvement in water, power, roads, healthcare, housing, sanitation, drainage, education, skills, and jobs. The youth, the first-time voters, voted mainly for jobs, which will lead to improving livelihoods and upward mobility. The theme, Ikkada Babu, Akkada Modi, meaning Babu here and Modi there, is the confidence with which they voted, and they definitely, I'm sure, won't be disappointed in the next 5 years. The term urbanization was used in the speech, and I think it's a very welcome concept, which is rephrasing some of the earlier concepts. One thing I would like to talk about as far as jobs are concerned, because the China model was quoted quite extensively, is that I believe that there's a new model that's required for India, and that is creating non-migratory jobs. In China, I've been there and I've studied the industrial situation there, and mass migration takes place in order to fill all the jobs in the factories. People do not visit their homes and their villages for almost maybe once or twice in a year. They leave their families behind, and I think that such type of structure in India would not be conducive to our social fabric. So therefore, I would urge that when we make the policies on industrial development, that we focus on how to create non-migratory jobs. We've seen the situation in Uttarakhand and in Himachal Pradesh, where factories have been established due to incentives, but they're not able to find labor force, and they have to bring labor again from South India and East India to fill those factories. So putting jobs where people are, rather than taking people to where jobs are, I think should be the focus of our industrial policy. And in order to create jobs, of course, we need power and we need labor. And the NREGA scheme, in spite of its good intentions, has actually depleted the labor force from organized industry. In my own case, we have factories in Tirupati, and when we advertised for 200 engineering jobs, for which we received 2,000 applications, walk-in applications, but for 2,000 workmen jobs, we received only 200 applications. It's not a case of lack of labor, but the labor is not willing to work because of the NREGA scheme. They prefer to stay home and collect the money. So I think the lacuna in the NREGA scheme needs to be reviewed, and policies need to be made so that underemployment is also studied, not just unemployment, but underemployment. The people who are still underemployed in the agricultural workforce and not willing to come into the organized workforce because of schemes like NREGA. The other important aspect is land acquisition, and I think that today, if we look at the land use in this country, less than 3% of the land is used for industry. And land prices are skyrocketing in most areas, especially where incentives are given and the land is constrained, where you have to build factories in specified zones. The land inflation is taking place abnormally high. Land prices should not be a constraint for industrial development, and land acquisition policy and incentives should be linked to job creation as one of the metrics. One of the things that I would like to propose is, in addition to special economic zones, we also consider the concept of rural economic zones, where incentives should be on a sliding scale based on the Human Development Index in those particular rural areas. The lower the Human Development Index, the more incentives should be given to establish factories in those places. We need both high-tech and low-tech jobs.
But 4 o'clock I have to complete. How to complete? You tell me. There are many speakers.
Sir, we need... Sir, just give me a few minutes, sir.
Not few minutes, 1 minute you take and complete, wind up your speech.
Sir, we need...
1 minute, sir. Give, sir.
Yeah, what to do?
Sir, we need both high-tech and low-tech jobs in India. We need jobs not only for people who study engineering and MBA qualifications, but also for people who have 10th class pass and 10th class fail, since that's most of our unemployed youth. We need to create in order to create a world-class manufacturing hub, innovation is important and brand building is important. Technology is important, research and development is important. And for all of this, an ecosystem is required which will combine our capabilities among industry, defense, universities, and the CSIR, or the Central Scientific and Industrial Research Organizations. Sir, today we are faced with a situation where electronic imports very soon are going to exceed oil imports, and that's a very troubling situation for our country. I think focus needs to be brought in to improve the electronic sector, and for that, a fab manufacturing unit is critical. We don't even have a single one in India today to manufacture silicon microchips. We need global scale in components
Please wind up.
if we have to be globally competitive. Sir, the President has said in his speech that 100 new smart cities will be created, and I would urge that the very first one should be the new capital of Andhra Pradesh. Sir, while looking at these smart cities, we need to focus on human scale, public transport, parking, and most importantly, which has been ignored in most of the cities, is it needs to be pedestrian and cycle-friendly cities as well. Today, a pedestrian in any major city, it's a horrendous experience to even cross the road. We don't have proper footpaths. We're building flyovers, but we're forgetting about the needs of people who walk on feet. And I think that needs to be also addressed. Sir, I would like to just make one mention. There was only one sentence mentioned about Andhra Pradesh and Telangana in the President's speech. I would urge you, please don't hyphenate these two states. We are now two different states with different needs, different strengths, different weaknesses. Andhra Pradesh today is left with a deficit budget. We have the maximum revenue is not with us. The assets have been left behind in Hyderabad. We have higher debt. We have more power generation, but more power we're being forced to supply the lion's share of the power to Telangana based on the consumption basis, and the water situation is still yet to be resolved. The clarity on these issues is utmost importance if both states are to go forward. With that, I would like to thank you for giving me this opportunity. Jai Hind.
Arvind Saman.